is unnecessary, and that's why I speak against it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Grant Robertson.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Just want to respond to a couple of the things that have been said tonight. The first is that this is a complex bill. That came to us from Nikki Wagner. Just want to reiterate that the complexity of this bill is something that the member may wish to reflect significantly further on if she just looks at the one truly operative clause. That's the one operative clause. And what that clause, how many lines? 3, 6, well 6 in the actual clause and then 2 immediately before it in the preamble. So that's difficult. To reiterate, what it actually says is that this means that lands can still be added to Schedule 4, and I think that's something, presumably, that the National Party would like to see able to be done by a minister, but that if land's going to be removed, that we would think that a government like the National Party, interested in democracy, would think that bringing it back to the House for there to be legislation would be something they would support. And I would suggest to you, Mr. Speaker, that the National Party, if they don't support this bill, that is a true testament to how they feel about New Zealanders' environment and a true testament to just how out of touch they're getting with New Zealanders. Because New Zealanders have shown time and time again they want our conservation land protected. They want our coastlines protected, they want our national parks protected. It's part of being New Zealanders. And this government doesn't seem to have got it, because as Nikki Wagner told us, they went out to New Zealand looking for feedback. Well, they got it all right. They got it. 50,000 people down Queen Street, thousands of submissions on the bill. They got the feedback, but they're not listening. Because if they were listening tonight, they would be supporting this bill.
Who are they?
Because all this bill does is put in place a regime that reflects that concern that New Zealanders have. And I have to pick up Maggie Berry's comment, is the consultation process adequate? Phil Heatley thinks adequate consultations, asking John Key how his day was. That's what Phil Heatley thinks is public consultation. Simon Bridges, I think he might extend public consultation just a little bit further, perhaps to the Senior Citizens Lounge in Tauranga. That will be public consultation. It's not enough, it's not sufficient when we're talking about New Zealanders' land that New Zealanders value. And there is no way that a bill like this should scare the National Party. They should be prepared to support this because it's in line with New Zealanders' values. It's in line with what New Zealanders want for our nature. What's that? No, not repeating it. Louise Upston knows that this is in line with New Zealanders' values. National is out of touch on this issue. National has to get over the idea that the economy and the environment are in some kind of eternal struggle, that they have to battle it out to work out the future for New Zealand. They need to get with the program that New Zealanders actually see the economy and the environment together. Of course we want sustainable economic growth, but we're not prepared to see Schedule 4 land that has been put there because it's of value to New Zealanders, tossed away in the search for some minerals that might be there. So the process that National went through, Mr. Speaker, when they were doing the stock take that we heard about earlier, is quite instructive for the National Party's views on these kinds of issues. A stock take was undertaken, they told us 2 years ago, to identify the conservation, tourism and cultural values of Schedule 4 areas and to identify areas possessing significant mineral potential. Now, the government, Mr. Speaker, then went on to tell us what the 4 main conclusions were of that stock take that was to identify the conservation, tourism and cultural values. They had 4 main conclusions. One of them was that New Zealand is mineral rich, the other is that there's plenty of mineral potential, the third of which is that the mineral potential could be developed, and the fourth of which is the information on mineral potential is limited. Can anyone see what's missing from that? Anything about the cultural or tourism values. That was what drove the stock take. And there was no way the government was going to be put off until they faced those 50,000 New Zealanders and New Zealanders right around the country who oppose this. We support this bill. It is a good bill. It should go to Select Committee so that the New Zealand public can have a further say. The fact that the National Party are opposing it tonight, Mr. Speaker, shows that they are out of touch with New Zealanders' views on conservation, on how we look after our land and how we develop a sustainable economy. Them being out of touch like that will be remembered by New Zealanders.
Denise Roche.
Speaker, it's my privilege to rise to support this